We leave trails of stardust, not to outshine darkness, but to guide others home. There is strength in how we burn, fierce and true, saying, "Follow us to brave." And maybe that's what heroes are. Not the ones who fight, but the ones who light the path and wait. Welcome to the Rebel Poets Rising podcast. Dearest Rebel, under the shroud of a dark spring sky in April 1775, Paul Revere saddled his horse and took off into the night to Lexington to warn John Hancock and Samuel Adams that the British were coming. Tasked with making sure the signal and message were clear, he famously hung lanterns in the Old North Church steeple, one if by land, two if by sea, and then carefully and quietly crossed the Charles River by rowboat, evading capture by the incoming British vessels, and got on a horse that would take him the rest of the way. If you've never heard this story before, it's one of courageous and rebellious wakemaking that would set the course for the new world and who she was about to become. As I ruminate on this pivotal moment in the history of America, I can't help but be acutely reminded of the parallels to the challenges and opportunities you, as a leader, face today and what it requires. Like Revere, you've been tasked with a vision that's bigger than you might even realize. And that vision begs for a movement bigger than anything before. Think about it. Revere didn't wait for someone else to step up and say, "I can do hard things." He understood that impact requires decisive action, even in the midst of fear and uncertainty. And as he planned and schemed, eventually setting off into the darkness of night, he was leveraging a network of other people he trusted and had built over years. People who knew the cost of silence and of alerting those asleep, and yet they still chose danger. They were risk takers, visionaries, believers in the impossible, and wake makers. Like the ripples on the smooth glass of quiet waters, the wake the Revere created was distinctive and clear. This is the essence of a wake-making life, understanding that your actions create waves that extend far beyond your immediate reach, sometimes lapping onto distant shores you didn't even know about. Every decision you make, every initiative you champion sets in motion a series of events that shape not just your future, but the legacy you intend to leave behind. See, Revere's courage wasn't standalone. There were many brave men and brave women of that day that stepped directly into the fray, knowing they would rather choose danger than apathy. And you have been tasked to choose that same path. Today, we find ourselves again at a crossroads of history. The future is waiting to be chosen, and you can carve that wake into the water with clear and focused purpose, but only if you choose now. Because the world won't wait for you to come around or see the light. The world is waiting for a leader to rise up and show the way with clarity and focus. Are you a wake maker? It's time to show the way. The most impactful wakes aren't made by those with the biggest boats or the loudest horns. They're made by those who understand that even a small vessel moving with unwavering purpose can create ripples that transform entire shorelines. I've seen this play out in my own life. The moments when I've had the greatest impact weren't when I had everything figured out or when conditions were perfect. They were when I simply refused to stay anchored when movement was necessary. Your wake doesn't need to be dramatic to be meaningful. Sometimes the most powerful disruptions come from quiet, consistent movement in a direction others are afraid to go. So I'll ask you again, are you a wake maker? Are you willing to cut through waters others won't navigate? Are you ready to create movement that guides others home to their own courage? Because the truth is, someone is watching your wake already. Someone is gauging the direction of their own journey based on the trail you're leaving behind. Remember, your movement matters more than you know. I'm your host, Kate Harris, and this is Rebel Poets Rising, a podcast for those who dare to rewrite the rules. Join me every week as we fan the spark of rebellion into a roaring fire, unite with fellow rule breakers and wake makers, and discover the power of our authentic voices together. Somewhere out there, someone needs to hear exactly what you have to say, exactly the way only you can say it, because your voice is the revolution we've been waiting for.
The Rebel Poets Rising podcast is a production of Istoria. To learn more about Istoria and the Istoria studio, visit Istoria.com. For more Rebel Poet resources, visit rebelpoetsrising.com.